Menopause is an interesting one. A bit like PMS, women kind of expect it to be really horrible and to get sluggish and tired and overweight and just feel frumpy afterwards, and it doesn't have to be that way. You know, our foremothers would have breezed through menopause without it being this big thing that suddenly happens to you. So the official definition of menopause is having no periods for 12 months. And even if you're having the odd period here and there, you are not truly menopausal until you've had a whole 12 months with no period. But there is a time called perimenopause, which can be up to 10 years before you're truly menopausal. So often starts in women's 40s, because the most common age for menopause is early 50s, where symptoms start to kind of rear their ugly head. So a lighter period or even a heavier period, just a change in the cycle. Could be further apart, could be closer together. Energy can kind of change a little bit. You might find that you're putting on a little bit of weight. These are all signs that the hormonal balance is beginning to change. Most women assume it's because their estrogen is dropping, and it is to a certain extent, but your progesterone, which works in partnership with your estrogen, drops far quicker than your estrogen. So a woman that is postmenopausal can be producing more estrogen after the menopause than some particularly skinny women produce premenopausal. So you are still producing estrogen after your menopause because your adrenal glands produce it, your fat cells produce it, and your ovaries will still produce a little bit. So there is still some estrogen in the system. So as I said, if you're a really skinny woman and you haven't yet had your menopause, gone through the menopause, your estrogen levels might naturally be low, and a well-covered woman postmenopausal might actually produce more than you. So the hysteria about estrogen is a bit misplaced. What happens as you're approaching menopause and going into menopause, your progesterone properly plummets. And low progesterone leads to symptoms of weight gain, low energy, sort of general lethargy, heightened emotions, so feeling very vulnerable and kind of overwhelmed by things very easily. Hair loss, particularly common, is thinning of the hair, and this dysregulation of the cycle. So it's something that can be addressed. There are certain natural progesterone creams that you can use, but that's a whole subject in itself and something that you would need to get advice on. There are some synthetic progesterone creams that are a complete waste of time. There are some good natural ones that are transdermal. The best way to get them into the system is to put them on your skin, and then they get straight into the bloodstream. And that can just top up your progesterone levels to ease that process through the menopause. And that can actually get the things like night sweats and hot flushes and things completely go away. This is lack of progesterone causing the night sweats and the hot flushes. So that can be done, but what you also need to do, excuse me, is watch your estrogen levels. And too much estrogen can come from too many dairy foods, the water supply where the contraceptive pill is putting estrogen into the system, xenoestrogens, which are chemicals that are getting into our foods. So watching the intake of estrogens, even things like soy, which is known to be beneficial, thought to be beneficial for the menopause, but it's a bit kind of heavy hitting. It's got very high levels of something called phytoestrogens, and they have a mild estrogenic effect on the body. And so women are often recommended to take more soy products or even a soy supplement to boost the estrogen. It is not about boosting estrogen, it's about boosting progesterone. There's not a lot you can do dietary-wise other than keep the estrogens down, so it keeps the balance better. So it's more complicated getting your progesterone up than it is getting your estrogen up. A healthy diet, keeping active is really key. Keeping your body working well, keeping your muscles nice and toned, because that again helps with estrogen progesterone balance. So nice and active, good amounts of sleep. Actually, that's probably one of the key things. Regular sleep, trying to go to bed as close to the same time every evening as you can and getting up at the same time. Very, very good at helping to regulate progesterone levels. When you come to Grayshott, as well as just being a lovely environment where you can rest and get over fatigue and have a break from life, which is always lovely to do, you can eat really well, which is also important. One thing you want to avoid is too much dairy because of the estrogen, and we have lots of non-dairy options for people. We don't use soy either, so that's an easy thing to avoid. And then you can have a bespoke program put together, either from someone like me, a clinical nutritionist, or we have medical herbalists on board, and together through a diet, supplement and herbal regime, you can be helped through that. And herbs are particularly useful. Things like extract of oats and sage and all sorts of things have that balancing effect on your progesterone levels, so it can be really useful. But it's a very individual process. You can go through the route of having hormones tested. We don't do it here. We look at the symptoms and address it in a natural way.